wish you a happy new year. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I hope you're all fantastic. It's great to see some familiar faces in the chat. So thank you for your lovely warm wishes. Tonight's special. I have a very, 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 very special guest, my husband, who I'm going to reveal. And as long as he's a good boy, I won't have to tape him up. He's a little bit of a chatter, and for some of you, you've actually met him. So I brought him on for a very special reason, which you'll find out a little bit later on. But let's dive into our subject tonight, and I'm thrilled to present some new content for you. And let's dive into this important aspect of what we're looking at tonight. So here we go. What we have is 3 power values to transform your business. So as we're looking at that, I want to talk to you first about the female values. The first one is to be seen. The second one is to be understood. And the third one is to be safe. So let's dive into this, because we understand the importance of a consultation, right? We understand the importance of being in the service business and pleasing our clients. But female values are very, very different to male values. In fact, any one of you who've written Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, or vice versa, a lot of this information comes from there. To be seen, to be really, really seen. So ladies, how many of you have said something to your husband and you feel invisible in his presence? Just give me, oh yes, Viv, that's happened, in the chat. How many of you talk to your husband and loved one and you don't feel understood? How many of you can relate to that? And the most important one of all is feeling safe, yes? So Lisa's saying, oh yes. So let's now take it to our world. The client is sitting in the chair, and clearly we see them because we're going to do their hair. But do we really, really see them? Do we really understand that the handbag that they're carrying is, you know, a $3,000 handbag? You've just checked that out, you know. Do you really see that she's dressed extremely casual, but you know that she just ran in from the gym and she's a trust fund girl and she has a lot of money to spend? Do you really see that person? Do you see the length of her neck? Do you see how she holds her body? Is she stooped? Is she tall? How do you really, really see that person? Do you use your mirror? Is your mirror at all? Are you really, really using your mirror? That's another very important part of this. So all of these things are critically important, aren't they? To be understood, to really understand that an inch is an inch, to really understand that cool is cool, to really understand the values of how that woman feels. And of course, to feel safe, to be trusted, to know that we can just relax and feel okay, more than okay, with who's doing our hair. So when you look at these are 3 of the most important core values that are feminine energy. And when you really nail them, as simple as they seem, it's the ability of how we see, how we understand, and the safety that we give our guests. How many of you can really relate to that? Yeah, how many of you can? So we're going to dive into this today because it's going to be a really juicy subject. I'm going to be showing you some images that are fresh from the house. So let's dive into this. So the first subject we're going to be talking about is who is sitting in your chair. And who is sitting in your chair is, for those of you who are new to my world, it is a consultation course. And this consultation course takes a deep dive into face shape, into the consultation skills. And the thing is that my consultation form that we work from covers those 3 important principles of the core values of being safe, being seen, and being understood. It captures all of that. It goes to the heart, it goes to the mind, it touches all of those important things. So for those of you who've been through the program, I know we've got a lot of members here tonight, you know the value of this. But let's look at it for those of you who may not really have a deep understanding. And tonight you may be saying, well, Viv, I think there's a gap in my training. So when I'm looking here at the law of three, sometimes when I look at somebody, I think, oh, I'm not quite sure what kind of look I should do. And I always go to, well, where's my oval face shape? That is my golden rule. And part of that is the balance and the proportion of the lower, of the thirds. And of course, the lower area would be the fourth, the neck. And so that's a very, very important part. So when we're looking at this, I'm looking at the balance and the proportion, and I'm looking at face shape versus body type. So when I'm looking from the collarbone up, all of this impacts the face shape, the length of the neck, and the shape of the shoulders. Anything here down impacts body type. Very, very different. So very often this critical length, especially as our body shape changes, as we age, becomes a very critical point of whether it works or does not work anymore. So if there's nothing else this week, take a real good hard look at that. And also what I want to really encourage you to do is take screen captures and also write as many notes as possible. Anything you're learning tonight, pop it in the chat so other people can learn from you as well, because that's also very, very important, because the more you can use this information, the better it's going to be. So now when we're looking at this and we're looking at, obviously, do we open or do we close the face? So for many of you, you know I like to vogue around the face. I use my hands as a frame, whether they're going like this to do a jagged fringe, whether it's like this to do a solid fringe. How I'm working around the face is very, very important. So when I vogue around the face, I'm looking at how I can find my oval face shape. I find that first because that is a very important part of the balance and the proportion. So here we've got a really good example of an opening and a closing of the face. But when we look to all of our different face shapes, we're going to take a deep dive into this tonight, and I think you're going to find this really, really fascinating. So the golden rule of design is about balance and proportion. So it is measuring the 3, and this way it's measuring 5. But what we ultimately want to do, regardless of whatever face shape that is get the law of 3 correct. Because then whatever face shape this is, you know the face is balanced. And that's a very important part of that. So let's dive even deeper into our subject tonight. And what we're going to look at is the closing of the face versus the opening of the face. And when looking at this from that point of view, you can see what a difference closing, putting volume in the jaw, opening, giving more width to the face, and lengthening the face. So you can see here by the example, the opening and the closing and the power of that. So what if you've focused on doing such a beautiful technical hairstyle? You've done a lovely, lovely haircut. You've blow dried it in your favorite way, but it's really not the perfect shape for that client's face. To me, great style is about when everything completes and nothing competes. So if you do this hairstyle on the wrong face shape, it's clashing, it's competing. And so all your craftsmanship, all of your skill, all of your hard work is diluted because it's nowhere near as impactful. Maybe it's 1 inch too short. Maybe the parting should be on the side. All of these things are very, very important. And I hope that makes sense for you. I'm sure it does. So as we're moving forward here, you can see that now we have the situation where we've opened the face at the forehead, but now we're giving volume at the side. So then the question is, which is the best style? So when we're looking at a long face, we want volume. When we have a pointed chin, we want to put volume around the perimeter. And when we have a square, wide face, we want to make sure that we narrow it in the most appropriate way. So when we're looking here, you can see a right and a wrong. But let's just put, for example, we're going to take our face shape here that is square and put that over the top. Now you can see, because we've given volume through the side of the hairstyle, we are actually not having the jawline be the widest part. We've given her volume at the ears. But let's take it the other way. If we've elongated at the top of the head and this lady has a pointy chin, what we've done is we've stretched out her face, and where she's widest, we've widened. So I hope that makes sense to you. So here we have a good example, and this is really powerful when we have volume in the chin area and the jawline, and we've done a narrow hairstyle. So for many of you today, we know that the trend is skinny, down, curtain fringe, but what that does is on the right face looks great, but on the wrong face, that closing down is actually sometimes aging, and sometimes puts too much volume in the lower part of the face. And that's what we've got to be so careful of. Does that make sense, guys? Make sense to you all? Just give me a thumbs up in the chat if this is making sense and if this is helpful. So now here, when we put this hairstyle here, you can see we've got a wide jawline. Now let's go to the next area. So when we're looking here, am I going the right way? Maybe I'm going the wrong way for you guys. Oh no, I was going the right way. So when we're here and we're looking at our face shape and we're looking at the balance and the proportion, you can see that the power of the opening and the closing of the hairstyle. Now let's do a comparison between a flat head, and now I've elevated the parting area and I've given the forehead more length. So remember when I said to you the law of 1, 2, and 3. If that client's got a short forehead, we're going to elevate the fringe. But I also want you to think about the shape of the skull. Is the head oval or is it a round skull or slightly square? Because very often a pear face shape, the reason it's a pear is because it's narrow at the top, which means an oval skull, and it's full here. But a round face shape usually has a round head. So that means the skull is bigger up here and the whole shape is very round. Does that make sense? I hope so. So now as we're going through here, you can see we've got something really cool happening. So look, here we have a round, which works very, very nicely. The round here does not work so well. So can you see the difference between this style where it's balanced, and then this, oops, let's go the right way, Viv, and this one here where the jawline looks very, very full because we flattened the top of the head. So that shows you how one hairstyle can make or break according to the face shape. Here we have the example of the right and the wrong, and for me this is huge. Depth, and depth is so important. So when I am styling, what I actually did on this one side here, I went in with my comb and I did elevation with the comb just to bump the top of the head, where with the other hairstyle, I was holding my comb flat to the head and I was actually ironing the hair and flattening it down skinny. Two totally different strategies based on face shape and based on skull shape. And for those of you who've not been to Who's Sitting in Your Chair, that's what the program's all about. So every month we do a live session, and this subject that I'm talking to you about right now, I'm just spending a very short period of time just touching the surface. We take a much deeper dive. And what I do know from taking this program and teaching it is it takes a while to train the eye, because we get so absorbed in hair and we're above our hairstyles most of the time, not eye level with our hairstyles. And there's a lot that we miss. So that is a really important thing. So when you start to look at your hairstyle from a depth perspective, it really does change. And you can see here, what's really important is that what we do is we create that shape. So the volume is here. And when we come in and we create what is a triangle, triangles always will lift, and that's a really important part of the hairstyle. So I just want you to be much more mindful of depth. How do you see depth? Number one, you step away from your work. Number two, you use your mirror. Number three, your eye level with your work, so you can always see the shape. And do you know who becomes your best friend in this process? Your phone. Taking photographs of your work is how you can start to see the shape, the balance, and the proportion. So I hope that makes sense. And if there's any questions, just let me know, and just give me a thumbs up if this is helping you. I want to make sure I'm serving you tonight. So here you can see that we have, when we're working on a hairstyle that comes half back and half around the face, very, very flattering for a pair. But obviously for a hairstyle, for a face shape that is more of the diamond, this is not as flattering because all the volume's at the side and we're making an emphasis of pointing out the chin. So here you can see how it starts to balance the face where that does not balance the face. So that's a really good example. Again, when I train you how to vogue around the face, this becomes so important. The long face obviously needs volume. The square face, be very mindful, but a little bit of volume at the ear and working on triangles can work very, very well. The round is actually a very youthful face shape. The round loves a symmetry. The round loves a side parting. And you can see here that the round works very, very well. So the ultimate thing is that with all of these face shapes, you must find your balance and proportion. And as I mentioned before, when you look at a face shape, sometimes the lower part of the face may be a diamond, but the upper part of the face may be very, very square. So you may have a square forehead and maybe a diamond perimeter. So sometimes people are combinations, but beyond all of that, oval is your go-to, right? And the law of three is your absolute, it will never lead you astray, it will never go wrong. And when you understand the science of the beauty and the beauty of the science, you've really nailed it. Then, not that I'm saying you should do this, but you could do a very average hairstyle. And if you've got it balanced, it'll look far better than a fantastic hairstyle that's not balanced. It's just like, you know, clothes. If it's the wrong fit, doesn't matter how expensive the fabric and the shape is, if it doesn't fit the body, it doesn't work, right? You can all relate to that, can't you? I know you can. Yeah. Okay. So who is sitting in your chair is an incredible program. And this program is where you want to take a much, much deeper dive. So I'm super excited because tonight we have a special offer and you can check out your email that will be coming to you so that you can get into this offer. But for those of you who are saying, you know what, Viv, I want to up my consultation. I want to increase my value. I want to have more sense of certainty. I want to increase my confidence. I want to give my clients more. I now understand the three important things that are so critical to the female spirit, which is to be understood, to be really seen. You really see, I've got a wide face. You really see whatever it is, you really see, and you create a safe place. So when you create those three values in every single consultation, which this program is based on, you can't go wrong. So with that said, I have a very, very special guest that I'm going to bring onto my platform here. It is my fabulous husband, Hassan Boujaram. And I'm going to show you this picture because this photograph that's next, when I showed these images to my husband, I said, darling, what do you think of them? And I'm going to let him tell you what he said. Welcome, my husband. Hi. So what did you say when you saw those pictures?
Well, let me tell you about it. That picture, whenever she does a haircut, I tell her, where is the bird's going to sit in it? I don't understand without the geometric, where is going to sit?
He doesn't talk like this.
Hello,
usually.
my dear friends. My name is Sanjay Kumar, and I'm from Delhi. When Vivienne said that you can talk to my hairdressers, I was very happy, ecstatic, and I said I can take the opportunity and ask you about my problem. I've been using this product that grows hair. You see, my hair is doing very well, but the problem is my body is now full of hair. When I went to the beach in the summertime, somebody took my photo, put it on internet. They said, we found a big foot. You can check the internet. You're going to see my pictures in hairy body. They have monkey and human.
Are you done?
20 years ago.
So what did you say about my hairstyle? This is my husband and he's a goofball. So what did you say about my hairstyle when I did that? Do you remember what you said?
Where the bird's gonna sing?
Yeah, he said, guys, hello. I did this hairstyle, right? And he says to me, honey, where's the bird going to sit? He's been my best critic and everything else. So the reason I brought my husband here is he's watched me over the years do good, bad, and ugly hairstyle. He's seen me elevated. He's seen me cry. He's seen me in all my different places of joy and frustration. And he's always been there for me, which I really appreciate, because we all need somebody who's honest in our life, that sometimes says things the way that you may not want to hear. Remember, honey, there's 3 important things about a woman. She needs to be seen, understood, and safe. So you're going to tell a story about your experience as a hairdresser, going to the hairdresser, right? In the meantime, hold on. Just always in the same space. I am going to show you the mannequin that you saw before that had all those lovely hairstyles. I have done a set and I'm going to start pulling it apart and just playing with it and looking at the balance and the proportion. And I'm going to create while he's going to tell you a story. Okay, off you jolly well go.
Well,
Could you do it in English so we can all understand?
Let me finish what I was saying. Almost 20 years ago, when Vivienne had her first seminar, and they asked me if I would come to these webinars or seminars, and because hairdressers would not ask questions, and they just said, well, maybe they need to learn, that on these webinars they can ask questions. So that's what they invited me. Then I was thinking, my gosh, now if I'm going to be a success, then I have to come to every webinar. So that's why I came as a Sanjay Kumar from Delhi, that they won't ask me anymore. But here, it didn't work. After 20 years, here I'm sitting on this chair and I'm in the camera. Before it was just only the voice. So, well, I guess if you guys are going to give me a thumbs up, that means I'll be coming. And if you give a thumbs down, that means you won't see me again.
Well, actually, I have to tell you, Sanjay Kumar, when we were first doing our very first streaming, I needed to know if somebody could see us. So he was in his store and I said, listen, we're going to stream live. This is 20 years ago. So we're streaming and he comes in as his character, Sanjay Kumar. And he's talking about being bald and all these crazy things, and he can't blow dry his hair. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's crazy, crazy. But anyway, you've got some important stories to tell.
Honey, I'm getting a lot of thumbs up here. 5 thumbs up. Another 2. Okay, another thumbs up. Oh, 3 middle fingers. Okay. Sorry, I didn't want to make the accent of the Indian accents. I love Indians. I love the food. Actually, the other night I made chicken tikka and garam masala. Well, I thank you for allowing me to speak. I am one of your clients, one of your consumer, and I was. And I mean, I'm going to use this platform to talk about consumer perspective, my pain. I always thought when I go to a hairdresser, I always look, or a barber, I never look good because always I look worse than when I walked in. And I thought that's normal. After 2 weeks, the hair grows and, I comb it this way and I'm going to be good. But that was my understanding. When I talked to my friends about it, they all said the same thing. They all said, yeah, just let it grow. It's gonna look good. And I think including one of the barbers, he said the same thing to me, let it grow. And it was the case until I came to the town of Southampton. So I was living in Hampton Beach. I went to this hairdresser. Her name was Anne-Marie. She blew my mind. She was the first one that I guess she understood the art of hairdressing, and she did a haircut based on my face shape, which I learned later on. Until after a year and a half, Anne-Marie moved on and I couldn't find it. So even the owner offered me and I allowed her. And then I went to all the salons in Southampton, one of the richest towns, probably in the US, and from a barber who was charging $12 30 years ago, almost, and to a guy who was charging $100. And I tried them all. I was disappointed until I called my sister and I said, I don't know where to go. I tried them all. She says, there's a guy, but you have to drive 2 hours. His name is Maurizio. And I did. I had only 1 day off in a week. And I took my day off, 2 hours to go to him, get a haircut, coming back, I lose my entire day. He was fantastic. And he said in Italy, we have to do at least 4 years of apprenticeship until we allow, to cut any hair. I think he understood the face shape and he was excited. And he said, oh, I have an amazing haircut for you. And so I dabbled, basically whatever they asked me, I paid the same thing in tip, and I enjoyed going to him. Well, he was my hairdresser until I met my wife, Vivienne. So when I met her at a party, I didn't know, she said, I'm a hairstylist artist. And I said, do you work in a salon? She said, no, she wasn't. And I said, do you understand face shape? She said, yes. I says, how much do you charge? $250. So I said, okay, $250. She's beautiful. So probably I'm going to go to her once in a month. So that will be 12 haircuts. So here, that's about $3,000 a year. If I marry her, times 30 years, that's $90,000 plus the compound effect. It would be probably now like $200,000-$300,000. And I said, would you marry me? She said, yes. That's so you can see the compound effect. And if you lose a customer, how much money you're going to lose.
So, and the moral of the story is?
It wasn't the distance, it wasn't the money. And I asked even, I remember back in those days, I mean, there was a guy who was making $350 a week and plus the 1.5% commission in my work. And we talked about the hair, and he said, yeah, I went to Frederick for Kai. I says, how much did you pay? $350. Is it good? He said, yeah, it's worth it. You see, the thing is, somebody sitting on your chair, maybe he's a single guy, maybe it's divorced, looking for a job, lost a job. I mean, you have the opportunity to touch that person, and you're in a close proximity to them and transform them. The more I understood your craft, I realized you're not just a hairdresser. You're an artist. You're like a painter. You're like a sculptor. And a sculptor uses marble or stone to shape, but you have the hair. And you have to actually, your job is more difficult because constantly you have to change it. If different material, unbelievable. I mean, look at the races, Afros, Middle Eastern, and Chinese, Japanese, and I think it's the face shape is the most important thing, because probably the reason I was never happy and nobody understood me, nobody saw me, because each time I saw myself in the mirror, the hair didn't go with this face. And I always explained, I want this to be tapered, but then none of them understood. Whatever they knew, they applied it to my hair. So the distance is not a problem, and the money is not an issue. People willing to go very far distance, and I think the most secure job is hairdressing job. And once people understand, I understand, and I value your craft, I value your work. And
what's the moral of the story?
Well, that's the moral of the story.
The price wasn't the issue. It was about having somebody that really understood your face shape and designed to you versus you just having your hair cut shorter, right? And that you traveled a distance. You gave up an entire day, didn't you, for this chat?
Yeah, I had to go
you had to travel.
2 hours, about 70 miles, and in the traffic. And
he's got nice hair, folks.
And also, the other moral of the story is, if you're single, look, the face shape, it depends on how expensive you are. How many people are going to marry you?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and I think there's a lot of importance of what you're saying there. Again, it's being seen, it's being understood, and it's feeling safe in someone's hands, that you're not traveling all that distance for it not to work. So here, guys, you can see I've created an incredible texture with this lovely little mannequin. And what's interesting about this, when we kind of go back, this is the mannequin where we just bring her back again so you can see her transformation in terms of what we've done for face shape, because that's what our conversation is tonight, looking at the face shape. So when we go from where we were to here, and we go, wow, this is now the same little girl as I have here. all through an incredible set. And one of the things that I think is so important is the art of setting hair and what we do. So hopefully you like that look. And she was a barrel curl set with quite a lot of product in her hair to give her that hold. She has that sort of that glam look. What I do know about any time that you're doing something like this, even if the hair is kind of falling forward and it's sort of undone, is the degree of softness. Curl will always soften the features. Curl will always be more feminine. Curl will give you that lift and that volume. So whether you're going into some kind of perming effect, the asymmetry of it moving out is really cool, and just kind of breaking it out. Sometimes I just like to even finger tease to get it sort of cobwebby. And you saw I was just playing around with the texture to kind of push pull it here and just get that volume. And she has a great look. So I hope you like that, right? So what we're going to do next is talk about the hair cutting world. So as I mentioned, if you feel, well, Viv, I think I need to up my game in consultations, that is who's sitting in the chair. But for those of you who are thinking, well, you know what, I want to either fast track my hair cutting skills, or Viv, I want to take a deep dive into mastery, what we're going to do right now is talk about how we can create these lovely haircuts that balance with the face clearly. So what I'm showing you here is a disconnection through here and through here. And so what I'm going to talk to you about is debulking. How do you debulk when you cut a shape, maybe with the scissors, and you're thinking, oh, it's just sitting a little heavy? How do you go through and debulk, and the why behind what you're doing? So for example, when I look at this heaviness that I'm having through here, this hairstyle connects from the fringe all the way through. The side area connects internally. This was elevated up through here to connect, but I have a disconnection through here. So let me just come in closer so you can see. I have the disconnection here and here. So inside connection, external, I don't have the connection. But let's look about what we're going to do to lift this crown, because again, look at it from a depth perspective. Flat, which is totally cool. But if this client has a small head shape and she would actually look better with a bump, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the hairstyle flatten down, and I'm using my mirror to look. Okay, that's where she is, which is skinny. But what happens when I start to lift it and get a little bit more happening through there? What happens if I lighten this a little tiny bit, don't have it quite so heavy? I start to increase the softness. So that's what we're going to talk about first. So one method of debulking in a hairstyle is to come in this way, where I come in with my razor and I elevate the hair like this, and I come through and I debulk. So I glide through very, 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 very lightly, and it's almost like a light kind of backcombing method. And believe it or not, I did take away quite a bit of hair from there. So I'm going to come again. I leave out what I like, and whenever I'm layering, I always look at, okay, that's what I have. What's going to happen if I start to debulk? So I come in flat again, and I come in very light and very, very, very soft. And it's like a ghost layer. So you can see I've taken away quite a lot of hair that just makes that very, very soft and light. So then I have to stop and I have to look, because from a profile perspective, I want the chin and the forehead to be level. So if this is kicking out too much, it looks disproportionate. I've got to have it come in and round and be flatter. And that makes it much, much nicer. So that was the butter knife technique. But let's now go into the thinning scissors. If I'm going to come through here and I'm going to come in and I'm going to pivot with the thinning scissors, I'm going to come 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And I'm going to then look at where my softness lays. And I've got a nice kind of effect through there, right? But now let's look at this crown. I may not want to take the layers any shorter than they already are. what I may want to do is, again, just come through liking the length but wanting to debulk. So when I'm working on the crown area, one of the things that's so important is not to cut it too short at the crown. So generally speaking, when I'm working on the crown, I'm going to come forwards and then I come backwards so I can create weight at the crown area. So I'm going to come through here again and come through and glide and come all the way around and debulk. And then once I've done that, again, I'm going to look at the hair, let the hair move, let the hair talk to me. And you can see I've taken away quite a lot of length through there, and look at where that length is living. So now I've got that lighter in there, I'm going to come through one more time, gather up even more of the hair. I can afford to take a very big section. Ooh. I'm going to elevate up, and I'm going to come through again and pivot around and around and around and around and around and around. And the butter knife technique I could also do here as well. I explore and I play to just look at what's going to happen, and then I can see how that's falling. So you can see I'm starting to get some more lift, but because I've lightened that through there, now I need to actually lighten the center back. Remember, it's not about inches, it's always about shape. And when your conversation with your clients about shape, 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 and the why behind what you're doing is so important. So again, I'm going to debulk in here. And just let's look and see how that's kind of skinnying through and how I'm getting that nicer silhouette through there. The next thing I'm going to do is blow dry the roots forwards. So just very, very light, very simple to just blow dry forwards. And then my husband does have another story to tell. So before I get to that, one of the things I like doing is actually ironing the hair. So I come through and I flatten, and I flatten, and I flatten. It's just like I'm ironing. And because I've got a very large nozzle on here, which is adaptable, this does help. So sometimes I use backcombing as my strategy. But in this case, I just want to get a bit more lift in there. So now when I bring that back with the lightness I've just put in, now I'm getting much more texture in there. So now when I look from the front, obviously the lift in here is going to come back more this way. And just lift that up. And now I want to look at the depth this way. So I'm now going to iron the hair in this direction. So iron it through. Iron it through. And this is all face shape related. Yes, I have a strong hairstyle. But I'm changing the shape from where she was just very tight and snug. And you can see here I've got the collapse. So I'm going to come through and the same thing. Iron the hair with my nozzle and iron that through and iron that through. Now again, I've got that volume through there, so it makes it look really quite lovely. So the next thing I want to do is put a little bit of product in, but before I do that, I want to actually soften around the face. So what I'm going to do here is, instead of just going in and just doing that, which is very dangerous, I've got my little bob shape. I'm just going to come out through here and again come up, walking, walking, walking and around. And then always look. And what's important is to cup in tighter here and have more volume at the ear. I always strive for that. So this weight I want to keep because that's the lift. This, having it snug around the face, is very, very important. And you can see I've got some nice movement there. The color is by Max Masano, and I'm super excited. Max couldn't be with us tonight, but we're launching our color series, and Max is going to be art directing the color series with some very special guests. So we're launching that in February. So I'm super excited about that. But anyway, this color is by Max. And this haircut and this color are in Viv Unplugged. So I'm just going to take that away. And again, make sure that that's light and soft. So this still needs more softness right in here. I'm just going over some detailing work. So here, take away, take away, take away. And make that softer. So already you can see that sitting in. I'm sure you can see that difference, right? Look how snug that is. So that is light, that is flatter, that is more dense. And we've debulked the crown. And now we just come in and we can just give it a little bit, put a little bit of product into the hair, just a tiny bit. I'm just going to use a little bit of wax. Sometimes I just want to grit it right at the root with a wax. This is a very dry wax, just so that it kicks up. Not every woman wants her hair to be backcombed. So the other way of getting around this is just shaking the head, right? So, you know, it's a quite a fun little look. And I think the kind of the bi-level part of this is really kind of cute. And of course, as in all things, know when to stop, right? So we've got the fluffy crown. There we go. So Hassan, what do you think of this hairstyle? Be kind.
You know, they're nice, but the only thing is with all the hairstyles that you do, I mean, if I were a bird, I wouldn't know where to sit.
Oh, if you were a bird.
But you know, but on the streets, when I see those hairstyles, if I were a bird, I could just sit comfortably in any of them and make a nice nest and lay as many eggs as I like to. But with yours, I mean, I wouldn't know where to sit.
Oh, guys, what am I meant to do here? What am I meant to do? Anyway, the hair designer program is the program where it's all about mastery. And what's really important about this here is that we're looking at the difference between when you say, well, Viv, I'm not sure whether I would want to do a mastery program or just fast track. You've got to say to yourself, where do I want to be next year? You've got to have a plan and work the plan. And it's hard to do it alone, let's face it. So if you say, well, in my schedule right now with time and money, this is what I'm going to give. So you can say, well, Viv, I'd like to do fast track. That will get you to a certain place. But mastery is another ball game altogether. And that's what's, you know, very, very exciting. So as I mentioned, we're having a promotion right now. So it expires in 3 days. Oh my gosh, 3 days. So if you would like to join the designer program, if you would like to join our fast track, you've got 3 days to get your discount. Check your emails tomorrow because these codes will be there, but you can actually write down this code or take a photograph of it. And what makes my training so very different to other trainings is that we watch videos, we do live virtual classes, and you get feedback on your work. So in the live class, the students are working, I can see, I can give feedback, and it's just amazing to watch everyone progress. They post their work in the forum, so their work, I can give feedback on their work. We have a vast library, and that's what makes this so very, very, very exciting, the library that we have, because, you know, I've taught for years, right? Years and years and years. And what I know is that to make a change, the most successful changes that are permanent changes are baby changes. So if we do something where we work together on a regular basis, we take a baby step, a 1% change, measure the face, 1% change, using the mirror more, 1% change, baby steps. And by making these baby steps, it's like spending money on your credit card, you know, $10, $20, $40. Have any of you been to that store called TJ Maxx? When I came to America, I hadn't seen a store like that before. And I went in there looking for one item. 3 hours later, I thought I'd just spend, you know, a little bit of money. 3 hours later, the $20, the $50, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's $19. Oh, I can't believe this is only $10. I spent $400. It was called the compound effect. Did I need any of it? No, but it was such a good price I couldn't resist, right? So I believe that education should be compounding. A little bit, practice it. A little bit, practice it. Ironing the hair, practice it. Working with the thinning scissors, practice it. Now, I know there's tons of tricks out there. You can see them all the time on TikTok and so on, but it's important to have a system. And it's important to start at the very beginning, which is understanding face shape and balance, understanding how you choose your hairstyle. And sometimes it's a bad choice because it's an inch off for the head shape, or it's an inch off for the neck shape, or it's an inch off for the body type. So you may be doing amazing work, and maybe the place where you're saying, well, you know what, Viv, then I need to really study more face shapes. Let me get that first, and everything else will get better, which is true. So there's the choosing the right hairstyle, which is training your eye. Is that sensibility, and it takes time to train the eye. And I have a whole strategy which makes it work, which I just showed you. We watch videos, we show up for a live, we photograph our work, and that 1, 2, 3 starts to create the transformation. So most of my programs have a live at some capacity. So you either have a light dive or a deep dive. So that always helps. So, you know, things like this little girl here, and just getting that, she's actually looking quite cute. Sometimes she's just got to sit and settle for a while before she kind of goes anywhere else. But anyway, so that's that. I'm kind of getting lost here in my thought process. But anyway, the library that we have. And so what I want to do now is change gears, and I want to now demonstrate to you some dress work. And I'm going to show you something super quick, super easy for all of you guys that say, Viv, I can't use hairpins. Good, because I don't think I'm going to use one hairpin for this hairstyle. And by the way, she would look really cute into a little ponytail. She's got like a little bob. You like it, guys? She's cute, right? Off she jolly well goes. So you have another story to tell, don't you, my darling?
Yes.
So what is your story that you want to tell?
Well, going back to the first thing that I said, I have a sister who's a hairdresser in Denmark. And while she was doing hair education as a student, she was very talented. And she was one of the few that got a scholarship to go to one of the best schools in Paris. Because of the revolution, she didn't end up going there. But, you know, she went to, lived in Denmark and living in a small town, Odense. So she opened a salon, 3 windows on a main street. And she was very successful. From the salon, she bought a house, car, a second home, and made a good money. But then all of a sudden, things went sour, and she was losing her clients. And she was telling me, the town is doing constructions. The streets are not good. People cannot park. That's why they're not coming. And I knew, because from my experience, that I'm traveling, giving my day, I said, shame on you. If your client are not willing to park the car somewhere even far and walk, so that means you're not good for them. I mean, you're not making any change. How could somebody change the hairdresser? I mean, to me, it was impossible, but she didn't want to listen. And I said, you can sign up with Vivienne. You don't have to pay. It's, get on the education. She said, no, I'm going to go home and I want to eat. I want to watch a television. And, she never thought the continuing of education, whatever happened, something happened. So she started losing her clients. They didn't see any value in her work. So I can get the same thing from somewhere else. Okay, if there is a bumpy road, why would I go there? That's how much they valued her. To the point that she lost the salon. She had to move with a $750,000 loss, moved to a salon with 2 chairs. She lost that too, ended up going home. Now she has all the time to go to study. So that's when she started getting online and study Vivienne's education. And then she confessed to her. She said, when my clients came, and she says, I would never leave you. I would always come to you. Now, client is willing to go to her house for a haircut because for the first time, they saw a transformation that they never got anywhere. That was when she valued the education and how to be current, up to date. Because especially now with internet, I mean, 20 years ago, we didn't have this, but now with internet, consumers are educated. They can see haircuts, they can see different shapes, different styles, and they want the same thing. So if somebody, let's say 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles, depends on their pain, who can give them what they want, so sorry, you're going to lose them. So again, Vivienne keeps saying in her education, talent is not enough. And I remember my sister said, I used to go to these classes, they taught me a trick or two, but when I studied with Vivienne, she gave me the foundation that I can create the tricks. And that was very profound, that's what she said, that she learned even to make the tricks. Before those guys, I mean, charging $1,000, $2,000 for a show, but only showing them a couple of tricks. So with her education, she got the foundation. Now she can understand face shape, what hairstyle goes with this. Simple. So I know how to cut. Even somebody doesn't know the precision cutting exactly, this side is not the same, you look good. So I always come back and I still give it, even a student, office school, give a chance to advance or getting better into their precision cut and to be correct if they understand the face shape. And I think is the most important thing to figure that out. I mean, it's simple. I mean, it's logical.
Did you like my presentation?
Well, I always love your presentation.
But did you learn something?
Yeah,
I love it when you come back from work and you say, oh, this lady came in today and she had a hairstyle that made her face look such and such. And usually you're pretty right on that.
Well, I understood to the point that actually when we watch television or when I see pictures, I can see, oh, that woman has a square shape and the hair is like this. So actually make her face more rectangular versus if it is more rounded, make her more beautiful. And although I live in a very wealthy town, Southampton, but when I see women with the haircuts, terrible. I mean, it seems the hairdressers, they only know few haircuts. And that's all they do on everybody. And just by blow drying and but when I see them, it doesn't look good. And I pass by salons, I know enough, even as a man, when I see pictures that they put on those posters behind the glass, boring, 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 boring.
Would you date any of those ladies?
Absolutely not.
You wouldn't? What,
I mean,
because they've got a
Vivienne
boring
did this
hairstyle?
hairstyles and lifestyles, which was an editorial. I mean, it was so beautiful, from short, medium, and long, geometric, and curly, straight, magnificent. I mean, I love them. I mean, when I saw those haircuts, I mean, I got excited and said, how beautiful. If a salon just show that on the window, they covered all bases. I mean, it's impossible. I mean, a woman passed by and says, look, I want that haircut. I want this. But again, I mean, you want a haircut, it may not look good for their face. Going back to Maurizio, when I used to go to him, he would, because he was an artist. He said, oh, he was always excited. He said, look, I know another haircut. Next time when you're ready, let me know, I'll do it for you. Right? And I was excited to go to him next time. I was very excited to know which haircut he has in mind. And I said, Maurizio, go ahead. And beautiful. Again, he played with my hair based on the shape. He understood it. I mean, we never talked about it, but I think it was inherited. He understood it. And it was beautiful. And then one day I said, Maurizio, I want to grow my hair. I want to have a long hair. He said, okay, we'll do it. So the way he did it, and I thought he's going to tell me, okay, go home and come back in 6 months. No. I went to him and says, okay, I'm going to do it this way. And actually he tapered it. My hair was growing with style, and it looked beautiful each time that I went, and it kept growing longer and longer. So in 6 months, I have a long hair up to my shoulder, but it looked beautiful. It wasn't like a caveman.
And let me just explain what I'm doing, then we'll go back to you. I hope you guys are finding it interesting to hear my husband's perspective. You know, he's looked at the world obviously through a little bit of my filter, but he's an artist himself, and his creative approach to life is really very beautiful. So I thought he brought some great value to some of the stories and a more personal experience. You can see here what I'm doing is sewing. I gathered the hair. First of all, this hair was Velcro roller set. No, excuse me. Yes, it was. It was Velcro roller set. I teased the roots. She went under the hooded dryer. There was quite a lot of hairspray put into her, and then I just run my fingers through. I then just gathered the hair into a shape, the shape that I had in my hands. And you can see I've been sewing. So there's no pins in this, and it is an elastic thread. And as I'm sewing, I'm looking at the shape from every single angle. And I just want her to be very soft and very, very undone and just very loose. So if I think, oh, there's a bit of a gap there, I can come through and I can just sort of like bring it across and just sew it through. Now, this is not something I could repeat. If the lady said, oh, I love what you did last time, I would have to say this is a one-off style. So, you know, again, what's important is I'm not on top of my work, because I think the biggest thing that makes my work and in training people, I've helped them so much, is I train depth. I teach you depth, and that's really, really huge. So you can see it's a really lovely effect. But Hassan, I want you to tell the story about the loss of a client, because you did a calculation, which I thought was super interesting. And please, guys, if you have any questions or any comments, please let me know.
Or thumbs up.
Thank you. So great to see you, Misty.
No, we're all getting thumbs up, buddy. That's good. Well, before I get into that, my sister actually, by doing education, today she works in one of the top salons in Denmark, in Copenhagen. I mean, think about it, from a small town in Odense, that she had a salon because of education. Whichever salon she went, knocked at the door, all offered a job, and they said, when can you start? So what a success. So she's making more money now. Imagine in a small town, you cannot charge more than $50. Now you can charge $200 in the capital. So that's a good story. We're talking about the loss of income. The guy in Southampton who lost my business for the last 25 years, you know, $100 back then, probably today is $150. So if you do the math, I don't know how many clients, before we get to it, how many clients you think you lose in a month? People who come to you and they don't come back. I would like to have your feedback. I mean, do you think there are 10 people in a month, 20 people, 5? Just give me some numbers.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to know what your average retention is. Retention first. Referral obviously is a little different, but yeah, let's hear from you what your average is.
Yeah, how many people you think you lose? They come and they never show up again. You think you can lose 10 people in a month, 5 in a month? They usually say what, 30% of people never come back? Is that the rate, standard rate?
I'm not sure what the average is right now, but we've seen people who I've been training with increase their retention by 80%. A third of them, they don't come back. Yeah, and of course there's going to be, obviously, people move away, people lose their jobs. There are circumstances beyond our control where that happens, so we understand. You know, there's the reality of that. Do you like this hairstyle, guys? I think it's turned out, we just go to full for a moment while we get some feedback from
20%. Trisha says 20%. Can you give me a number? Let's say 20%. Would you say in a month, how many people don't come back in a month? I mean, let's say for a salon. Do you think 20 people at least, they don't come back in every month when they? Well, people love it. That's what you did.
Pretty, huh? You know, the thing I like about this is this needs to be flat there.
Honey, you're always getting thumbs up.
That needs to be flat.
I was the only one that middle finger.
That is really important right there. Really important. So that's hair sewing, guys. You can do a large barrel cutting iron set with teased roots. You can do a Velcro or hot roller set all off the face. Obviously, this front's been left out. The headband, I think, really adds a little bit of personality and charm to it. But the teasing is there, and I just ran my fingers through it. So I didn't go through and tease, because I wanted ups and downs, valleys and peaks, a collapse, which I thought was important. So go ahead, Hassan. You've got some interesting things to do. This is going to be shocking.
You know, let's say that guy who I was paying $100, so $100, and let's say he loses and $100 for me that I didn't go to him. Let's say I do 8 haircuts a year. So that's 8 would be $800 a year that I didn't pay him. You see the number. So if he only lost 10 people a year, 10, right? So that would be $8,000 a year on income that he loses. If he loses only 10 people in a year as a salary, that's a revenue, right? So if I multiply it by 10 years, that's $80,000 revenue only if he loses 10 people, right, in a year. And this is not a compound effect. So if you compound this, which means, of course, after 10 years, the next year he's going to lose 110, the next year he's going to be 120, and so forth. On a compound effect, if you think about it, that comes to $800,000. And if you take that even by 20 years, that's 1.6. And they say usually, if you take $1,000 at a 6.5% interest, in about 7 years, you can double it. So if you consider all of these things, but anyhow,
That's a lot.
that salon, just even if loses 10 customers a year on compound effect, in 20, 30 years is a loss of probably $2 million. I mean, you can calculate, you can do the math on a revenue. And think about it. If the profit of it, $300,000, $400,000 sitting in your retirement account, how do you feel today if that money is sitting in your retirement account? So we don't think about it, but this is a compound effect. And now you can calculate, do I lose 10 people in a year? Do I lose 30 people in a year, 40 people? And do the math. Now ask yourself, the salon owner who didn't educate that girl that she cut my hair that day, which one was more expensive, the education or the ignorance?
Yeah, that's true.
Which one was more expensive?
Very profound.
So you know, see, when you educate your staff, I mean, as a salon owner, so think about it.
Yeah, it's
I
very
mean, a lot of
profound.
people don't do it because they say, oh, if I educate they teach them, they're going to leave.
Put a ball and chain around them. Which the whole point, though, as we all know, is that consultation is something we so often rush. We assume, we presume, and you know, what if she was not wanting to look like a Barbie doll, right? Because that, you know, she looks very cute and very Barbie dollish, but you know. To me, I am very serious and very focused when I vogue around the face, when I look at face shape, when I try and understand body type, understand personality and lifestyle. Those are all the ingredients for a winning consultation. And it's that sense of knowing, as I mentioned, great style completes, it doesn't compete. So if she's rock and roll, everything has that rock and roll vibe. Or if she's boho, it has that vibe. And obviously fashion will do juxtapositions, opposites, where they kind of clash, and in the clashing, they kind of look cool. So, you know, for the most part, what I've shown you tonight is curl and texture and volume is always going to be more feminine and very, very much more soft. So if you want to up your game in hair cutting, I've given you some options tonight, but if you do want to up your game in editorial styling, then this, again, this expires in 3 days, but there is the code. Take a screen capture. We have our editorial course, and we also, within our course, we have our boot camp, which is a whole lot of fun, And for the boot camp, it is virtual, but I did it for the first time this year, and it was amazing. Barbara, who's in the chat, I saw her earlier. I had 2 people come here to my studio. And so while I was doing the live like this, they were here in the studio, so I got to watch them work, and they were really part of the whole thing. So we only have 2 places for that. So if you're interested in the boot camp, do check that out, because the boot camps are a whole lot of fun. Really, really, really great. I also wanted to tell you that this year we're doing color craft, and so it's an exciting new program. It's going to be live, and we want you to do the work. we're going to do it live, and we're doing a focus group. It looks like people are saying Wednesday, Viv, early in the morning, 90 minutes with top colorists, and it's a follow along. It's like Simple Simon Says, and I'm going to be a student in the class. I'm going to be a baby colorist. Which is very, very exciting because I'm useless, but I'm so excited about learning something new. So just keep your eyes open for information on Colorcraft, because it's going to be coming out. As I mentioned before, we've got a sale that's running, and it will finish December 31st, up to 20% off. So I highly recommend, if you're interested in upping your game and developing an incredible sense of style, consultation, and face shape design, that's the product for you. If you want a light dive into cut, color, perm, Viv Unplugged. If you want to fast track your education and you want to learn 7 haircuts for the salon, fast track. If you want to be a master in haircutting and design, the Hair Designer program is the Platinum program. Editorial, if you want to have fun with editorial, then go for it. It's a lot of fun. And I mentioned in the email that there's a gift. So for those of you who have never been to one of my live events, you will have now access to one of my live events to come and experience it. Watching's one thing, but participating is something else. So you're all going to get access to a live, and you can see some of the amazing hairdressers working and being transformed. And really, at the end of the day, I think my greatest joy is seeing people be transformed. It's just such a joy to see someone who's got they're sort of struggling a little bit, and to get them through that hurdle is just so amazing. And what I know is that in a consultation, the client needs to know that that you have a sense of certainty. She has been seen, truly seen. Not this, really seen. She's understood, which means listening more than talking, right? And she feels safe. That's training to do that. Because sometimes we're so focused on the technique, we forget about this, and we're so focused on client processing and this and this and this, we forget about it all. We can only concentrate on one thing at a time, right? But with training, it starts to be ingrained into you. And that's where the transformation takes place. And that's where it's so exciting to see people shift. So I said certainty is really important. So is uncertainty. The most brilliant ideas come in an uncertain time. You know, doing this hairstyle today, I wasn't absolutely sure it was going to work. I had uncertainty. But I have enough of a technical foundation to know setting, to know backcombing, to know pinning, to know shape, to say, I'm not certain, but in my uncertainty, I think I can do something quite fresh and new. But I'm certain that an oval face shape is balanced. And I am certain that if someone is very full here, I need to detract and emphasize another part of their head to make them look more beautiful. Because beauty is a science, the proportions are a science, and then the fashion and so on is just, you know, it's the icing on the cake. So certainty and uncertainty are both important qualities, right? I work with people who are like, no, I'm not going to do that, not until I'm certain, not until I'm certain. It's like, just go for it, right? And then people who are like floating all over the place and say, no, let's ground you. So if I presented information today that feels like, oh, that's so much information, right? Book a call. Book a call with us. You can go to the website and you'll see book a coaching call. And then it's a career coaching call. We listen to where you are, what your goals are, where are you stuck, how can we help you, how do we serve you? And we can look at creating a success path for you. So if that's of interest to you, go for it. But you've only got a couple of days if you want to get that special price. And I hope today that in bringing my husband in, I wanted him to tell his story about being the consumer how he in the end traveled so many miles to have that great haircut as a man, and what he was prepared to do, the challenges that he had with his sister who was so close to learning, and she lost her business and blamed the environment, blamed everything outside of her as she lost her business. And eventually she listened to her brother and she went through some training, and now she's free and she's liberated. So sometimes things can get in our way. Usually time gets in our way, right? Lack of belief gets in the way. And the compound effect of when we lose that client, what is the real cost if it compounds? If that client was to come to us, 5 times during the year, and that compounds that loss, and how hard we have to work to replace that person. And while we understand there's a natural flow and there's a natural shift, still today, the #1 reason why someone leaves the salon is they're looking for something new. So when was the last time you said to that client you've been serving for 20 years, let's look at some new things we can do? As you're finishing her hair, give her an assignment and say, you know what, next time you come in, would you please bring 3 photographs? See if you can find something short, medium, and long. Just challenge the client, right? Have her do some heavy lifting for you. And the consultation that we use is a game changer. I was always a shy, insecure hairdresser. I still have shyness as part of my personality, but I was scared. And so when I was a baby hairdresser, I had a little index card and I wrote the questions. And then I thought, right, when I'm with the client and I'm nervous and I'm fluttering and I don't know what to do, so I just put the same hairstyle I just did on somebody else on it because it kind of worked, right? At least I had these questions and I would go through the questions, and it was fascinating because I would get a different outcome than just sticking the trend of the moment on somebody. And when everyone's doing the same thing, it becomes devalued. And when we can have that little sparkle of difference that makes our work magic, that's when hairdressing becomes the art. And that's where the magic truly is. So I just want to thank you all for being here. And of course, I want to thank my lovely husband.
Actually, I'd like to add here, you mentioned the 3 value, the female value. What about the male value? I think the most beautiful thing, I'm
You like to go in a cave. Men like to go in caves.
I'm giving from a male perspective. I cannot talk about the women. The most beautiful thing a man would like to see, beautiful hairstyle on with a beautiful face shape that you put together. That's #1. And #2, if a woman walk on the street with a beautiful dress, feminine, high-heel shoes, when the wind blowing under the skirt. No, let's change it now. I'm kidding. No, the first one is a woman, feminine, with a beautiful long dress with high-heel shoes when the wind blowing up the skirt. And the second is the beautiful hairstyle that goes with the face. But who am I kidding? How many days we have that is windy? Most of the time it's still. Okay, I changed that. So the first one is beautiful hairstyle that goes with face shape. The second is beautiful dress on high-heel shoes, of course with a beautiful hair, and the wind blowing up the skirt. But of course, if you live in a windy area like Colorado, forget it, because it's windy all the time. Who's going to look up? Everybody's going to look down. So it doesn't matter what kind of a style you do in those windy states. So this is a male value.
Yeah. Men like to go into a little cave. I think you're going in one right now, my love. He's going in his man's cave.
That's true. In a town, you don't have much of a windy day. So yeah, I would like to see the hair like that. The other one is a bonus. So.
Yeah, other one's a bonus. Well, guys, thank you so much for being with us. And I wish you all an amazing Happy New Year, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you, and I hope you found tonight inspiring and somewhat entertaining, right? So thank you so much for being with us. Have a beautiful evening, and good night.
Good night. Happy New Year.